So my name is Manny Massey. Manny is actually short for Emmanuel. I was born in Jalandhar, Kent, which is like an army station near Jalandhar city. My father was in the British Indian Army and he was stationed there. And in fact, that's where he retired. And eventually I was born there back in 1957. So I'm 68 years old now. It saves you working it out. Basically, when he retired from the army, he stayed near the army camp, and that's where he retired. And then he managed to get a job on the station where he was stationed at, near the hospital. And he used to fix bikes and he ran a little cafe as well. But then somebody said to him at that time, oh, look, the British government is giving vouchers to people if you want to come to Britain to go and work. The thing is, my father was actually part of the Indian Army during the Victory Parade in 1948. And so he had been to Britain for a week. He'd actually gone to London, then he went to Edinburgh as well. And so he said, oh yeah, it'd be great. I'd like to go there. So some of the people of the army helped him to get a visa with the voucher to come and work here. And that was back in 1963. So my father came here in 63, originally arrived in Slough because they were looking for workers. It was used to be a spray painter of vehicles. And then somebody told him, oh, look, there's a job going in Swindon at the metal box company. So he arrived here in 64 and settled in Swindon, basically. I mean, I remember the house very, very well, and we lived in a very Hindu area, if you like, and I grew up as a Christian. Behind our house was a mosque, and the school that I used to go to had a gurdwara nearby. There was a Hindu temple. Our church used to be sort of almost outside of the Jalandhar, Kent, the little town. So we used to walk there. I remember walking there. It used to take us ages. And then recently I went there, and it only took us 10 minutes to get there. Because when I was like 7 or 8, I used to think, gosh, such a long walk to go. And I remember the school, and I even remember skiving one day actually from school because I must have been 7 or 8, and the headmaster, and I still picture him, he was a big chap. He used to wear a turban. He was a Sikh. I lived in a Hindu Sikh area in Punjab, and he used to doze off in the afternoon. And I remember two of us we used to sit on the floor on these mats, and then two of us looking at him, watching him. Then when he dozed off, we just walked off, quickly ran off and ran into town. I still remember that. I was about 7 or 8. And I remember the sort of cows. We had to go and pick up, what's the thing called? The cow's poo, if you like.
Dung.
The dung, yes. So we had to go and pick up cow dung. Oh, my mum used to send us out because what we used to do was she used to mix it with a little bit of straw and some sand or something, and then they used to actually cover all the houses, the walls of the houses, at certain times of the year, to make them look, fresh and so on. And then they also I still remember it. You put it all on the floor as well, because you didn't have carpets or anything. But in the summer, used to keep the floor cool. So that's why we used to do that. So I still remember going, oh my God, picking that up with that bare hands, no gloves or anything. And the smell of it, I still, I remember it. But we used to take it in turns, and I'd say my brother was 2 years younger than me. He said, right, you got to do it, I've got to do it, he's got to do it. So we used to actually end up doing it all, buckets full. So my great-grandfather was Christian as well. So they grew up in an area called Sialkot, which is now in Pakistan, but in those days, of course, it was in India. So they became Christians there. And so my great-grandfather was Christian, so was my grandfather, and so was my father, of course, and the rest of the family as well. But it's a good question, really, because there was a bit of a difficulty, because in the area where we lived, in Jalandhar, Kent, Mahalla number 24, so they were like the army, they were like squares, if you like, and everyone was Hindu. Because my father used to wear a uniform, people didn't think that he was a Christian, and a lot of the Christians were discriminated against in those days, and still are to a certain extent, and they wouldn't have let him stay there. And when some people found out that he was a Christian living in a Hindu area, there were some people objecting to it. But of course, by that time, my father had already, and my mum had become friends with a lot of the neighbours, so it was all sorted. So opposite our house, we used to have a Sikh family, and to the right there was a Sikh family, but the one further down was a Hindu family, and then there were Hindu families in the block, but there weren't any Christians in that area. Yeah, so basically he had a foresight to sort of not only save money for all of us to come over. So he called my brother over in 1965. So he's 8 years older than me. So he's 74 now. And he called him over 65. He worked at Plessis. And then by 67, they'd got enough money then to pay for our flight. So I had my 2 sisters and 1 brother. And then my mum, so 5 of us, came over together. Before that, my father earned enough money to buy a property in Prospect Place. Again, no other Asian people there. And he bought number 35 Prospect Place for £1,300, something like that. So we're talking about 1967 now. And so when we arrived, I still remember seeing cornflakes, which we'd never seen cornflakes before, on the table. And there was a can of Pepsi. And my father sort of said, oh, you could try it, these cornflakes, without any milk or anything. We just tried it. And we were just fascinated because each room had a fireplace. So we had the front room, the dining room, the kitchen was huge. And what the other interesting thing he did was that because we arrived in December, he knew it'd be cold. The toilet, to get to the toilet, you had to go through the garden to the back. So what my father did was he actually got some builders to change the entrance to the toilet. So the entrance came in through the kitchen, into the bathroom, then the toilet. And then he also told us about how not to squat on the seat, because when we arrived, we used to squat on the seat. Then he said, no, you can actually sit on the toilet. And then I still remember somebody saying it was very cold. He said, well, put the toilet paper on first, then you sit on the seat, and then it won't be as cold. And I still remember all of that. And we used to have this oil heater in the bathroom as well, because if you can imagine, it's like the bathroom is almost sticking outside of the house, so is the toilet. And so it'll be cold in the mornings. So we used to have an oil heater in there. My father used to light it in the morning before we got up and all of that sort of thing. So I still remember. And my mother used to light the fire then when she understood how to do that before we got up, which was brilliant. So food we just found very bland. We didn't even try it. Bread we sort of tried because, my father and my mum used to make the omelette, the Indian style omelette with the green chilies and onions and all of that. So they would make toast out of it, and then have that for breakfast often. We tried cornflakes for the first time. Rice Krispies, didn't like it. It's too bland, because we're used to eating in India paranthas in the morning with a curry. And then lunchtime would be curry, evening would be curry. So all of a sudden, shock to the system. English people, for the first time, we saw girls with legs. Because we saw these girls with miniskirts. I was like 10, and we'd be walking by, and there'd be girls walking around with miniskirts. And for the first time, I saw a couple kissing on the side of the road as well, which we found very strange. Boys and girls mixing together. And I remember when I went to school, I was the first Indian person to go to King William Street School. And all these, because I was very good at maths right from the beginning, because in India, we used to do maths times tables up to 20. By the age of 10, we could recite that. Couldn't speak a word of English. All I could remember in English was I could say school, I could say tie, I could say headmaster, but we couldn't really say, oh, bloody fool, because in all these Bollywood films, they used to have this bloody fool all the time. We didn't realize we didn't know what it meant, but we knew that's what you had to say. And but anyway, when we were at school, all of a sudden, because I was good at maths, all these girls used to come and talk to me. Come on, Emmanuel, because my name was Emmanuel in those days. It still is, of course, but they shortened it to Manny. And I'll tell you when that got shortened, when I was 13. But anyway, these girls would sort of hold my hand, which I found very strange. A girl is actually touching me and holding my hand and taking me around everywhere. So whenever there was, we used to have milk in those days. And I hated milk. It used to be warm and, just didn't like it. So they'd say, no, we got to drink it. They'll take me there. Sir, Emmanuel's not drinking his milk. And all that sort of thing. I still remember it, from those days. So I didn't suffer any racism as such, and I think throughout my life, I managed to get through. Occasionally, you do get people saying things, but no, I mean, we integrated very quickly. I think partly because my father, he was ex-army, so he got us to join clubs. We joined the Sunday school, so meet a lot of English people. We started behaving like them. We were living in an area where there weren't any other Asian people. We used to mix with some of the other Asian people every now and again. I was the first one to set up a football team. I set up a cricket team, and I set up a hockey team as I got older. But no, I mean, there was once, I think, somebody called me a blackie when I was at King William Street School. But again, we didn't know what it meant. So we told my father, and he had a word with the headmaster there. I think his name was Andrew Lee. And they sorted it. And the ironic thing was that he was either Italian or another European, slightly darker skinned European person, and he called me Blackie. But apart from that, loved it. I was invited to somebody's birthday party, a girl's birthday party. Didn't go. I was just too worried about going to a girl's party. You know, we didn't sort of mix with girls very much. Then Andrew Brown, I still remember his name. They had a shop in Prospect Place just around the corner. He had a birthday party. We went to his birthday party, I remember, so I would have been 10 or 11 at that time. No, so at the beginning, no, we didn't experience any racism. Everyone just accepted us. So when we used to the church used to get elders come round every now and again, or the minister would come round, speak to you. Well, we used to give a cup of tea with cakes, and what we didn't realise is that we used to give them this like a little cake, spongy looking cake, give that to them, and we found out later on that was a flan case. That we were supposed to put something in it. So we'd just give them a flan case, cut into slices and give that to them. But they used to eat it. And we didn't realise for years until afterwards that actually you're supposed to put some fruit in there or something else in there to make it into like a little trifle or a cake. There's those sort of things. I mean, I did everything, basically. I joined the Air Cadets when I was 13. My father tried to get us to join the Army Cadets when I was 11. But I joined eventually because in those days they didn't take cadets. So I joined the Air Cadets when I was 13. I started playing table tennis, and that's how I got my name Manny. So I was 13. I was at Drove School at that time. And when there was a table tennis club starting, the coach said, "What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?" I said, "Emmanuel." He goes, "There's a lady, Sylvia Morse." I still remember it. She goes, "No, that's a bit of a mouthful." Is it all right if I call him Manny? I said, "Yeah, that's fine." You know, I didn't speak much English. I was so shy in those days, and so that's how I got my name Manny. But I think I integrated with people almost straight away with joining the Air Cadets. We were the first Indian people to join the Air Cadets in Upham Road, and my brother did eventually as well 2 years later. And I became the highest rank as a cadet warrant officer, and became a pilot officer eventually at Upham Road. And table tennis, I played for Swindon and under 17s. I played with Wiltshire under 17 team. So I played table tennis quite a bit really. I used to play for the league, played in the Premier League. So did all of that, and I think that helped with the integration. No, we just accepted it. I think we were young. We didn't even think about it. We knew people were different to us, and that was it. We did things with Asian people, Asian things. We did British things with British people, accepted it, and that was that. I did have a girlfriend, but the first girlfriend I ever had was when I was about 20, I think. I went to a nightclub for the first time when I was maybe 18, 19. The Affair used to be. Again, just like dancing. And then the Brunel Rooms, when they opened, we were there the very first time. So we just did every pub and nightclub you can think of in Swindon, I must have been to over the years. And so eventually I went to college. Again, I was probably one of the first Asian people. In fact, in the country, we were probably the first few people to do A-level computer science when that came out in 1974. So you can imagine 1974, when computers weren't around very much, we started learning to do programming. and the computer room was as big as this room here, like a living room. There'd be a computer, would be, the on and off switches you have, like up and down, up and down. There used to be 8 switches up in a row. We have to switch them on in a sequence. We had to read a sheet, follow the sequence. Then paper tape used to boot up. The term boot up comes because they used to go lacing through the boots. It was almost like if you're lacing your boot. That's where the term boot up comes from. So that tape used to roll through, loop, 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 loop. And then the program would go. And then everything we wrote, we used to come out on the teleprinter. By the end of your 2-hour session, you'd walk away with this much paper in your hand, which is such a waste. But until the screens came out, which was like much later, probably about 80, 81, when we started getting screens and so on. But it used to be on or maybe slightly earlier, 79 maybe, yeah. Basically, when I was doing my A-levels, so I decided to do A-level maths, because I was always good at maths. In fact, I teach maths now. And then I did A-level computer science, I did economics, and I wanted to go to university to do maths and economics, but didn't get the grades. I got grade B in maths, which was pretty good. So during the holidays, I went to work at a company called Ralton Packaging, which was just past Elgin trading estate, that sort of area. And we used to do pick up Reader's Digest books or Witch Guide or magazines, put them on a conveyor belt, and then the cellophane used to come around. There'll be 8 of us on the machine. Cellophane would wrap around the book. A label would be printed on it. Somebody would collect it. They'll sort them out into all the different postcodes. And so I did that for a couple of months. When I was going to go back to do my A-levels to do a better grade, Ralton Packaging was a Swedish company. The owner was around at that time, so he was watching me. So he comes up to me when I was going to leave. He goes, "Do you sure you want to leave? Because I can give you a full-time job here." I said, "Well, no, I can't really. I want to go back to A-levels." I was only about 17, 18 at that time. And he goes, "Well," I said, "What will I do then?" He said, "Well, I'll make you a supervisor." And I thought, great, supervisor. Even my father wasn't a supervisor. I'm 18, 19, I'm supervisor. So I had to supervise these 8 people getting this. I got to know all the postcodes. So if you said to me where GL1 was, I knew that was Gloucestershire, and Leeds would be this postcode and so on. So I learned all those postcodes. I did that for 1 year until I met this girl called Lorna. So this was at the college. So at Christmas disco, and met her. Somebody introduced me to her, and she goes, "What do you do then?" I said, actually, before I met her, she had a little badge here. And the badge, I got close. I said, "What does that say?" It said, "F off." Sorry, I don't know whether you're going to be able to do that. I said, "Why have you got that?" She goes, "So people don't come close to me." So I said, "I'm sorry about that." He goes, "What do you do then?" I said, "Well, I've got a good job." I said, "What's that then?" I said, "I'm a supervisor at a factory." She goes, "You call that a good job?" I said, "Yeah, I thought it was." She was the headmistress's daughter. And then we started going out together. And then she brought me back at the end of 1 year at Ralton Packaging. She said, "Right, you're going to go back." She was younger than me. She said, "You're going to go back and you're going to do your A-levels again, right?" And her mother was a headmistress. She sort of got me Reader's Digest. She got me a six-month subscription to Reader's Digest. So I learned so much about Reader's education, Western culture, sense of humour. Laughter is the medicine. I still remember that with little jokes in there. And anyway, went back to the college, and they said, so Lorna was talking most of the time. She goes, "Oh, he wants to do his A-levels." And the teacher said, "Well, actually, no, it's no good repeating your A-levels. There's a brand new course starting in Gloucester, Cheltenham, it's Gloucestershire. It's called HND in Maths, Stats and Computing. It'd be good for you. You start." And I said, "When is it?" "It starts next Monday," he said, right? And so quickly, Lorna phones up the entry person at the other end of college. So we go for an interview on Thursday. Friday, he says, "You got to get here by Sunday. We got accommodation for you and everything." So I told my parents, who didn't know what the hell was going on, but they were pleased that I was going to go to college. It wasn't as good as a university, but nevertheless, college. And funny enough, I teach at the same college now after 40 years. But anyway, so I ended up in Gloucestershire. with Lorna being with me. But shortly after she left me, though. That's a different story. My father, when he was working at Metal Box, because they used to pick up all these boxes, put them on the conveyor belts, his shoulder started getting pain, so he got a frozen shoulder. So in 1973, he left the factory and opened a shop, like a lot of Asian people did. So we opened a shop in William Street, so from Prospect Place, which is a beautiful place. We moved to William Street, 61 William Street, and took over a shop. So my mother couldn't speak any English, used to then help my father in the shop and got to know all these people, and she could understand some of the words. We taught her how to use the till, and so she'd wear a sari or salwar kameez, never wore any English clothes, and then she was able to say hello and say how much it is and all of that sort of thing. But she wasn't educated in India. In those days, a lot of girls didn't. So you can imagine she grew up in the 20s and 30s. She was born in 1925. So yeah, again, we just accepted it. We never complained about being here. But at the back of our head, see, we had a house in India, like a lot of Indian people did when they came here. We thought we were going to go back there. And so my father's idea was that all of us would get good education and then go back to India and set up our own business, become millionaires. But of course, we became more British than the British. We could talk better English than the British could, you know. And so therefore, we just didn't want to go. This is it. All our friends were here. All our work was here, education. So we just loved it here. So didn't think about going back. I don't even think about it, actually. I'm 68 and I just accept people as they are. You get reminded you're Indian every now and again by somebody. I don't mind. So somebody says to me, where are you from? I don't mind telling them, because that so many times it's a good way of starting a conversation. I don't know why people get het up about talking about where you're from. I tell them, well, look, I came from India, and I'm very proud to tell them my father was in the British Indian Army, fought in the Second World War. He was based in Egypt for a while. He was in Italy for a while. He got mentioned in dispatches. We have a right to be in this country because my father fought with the British, for the British, you know, and he could have died, but he got mentioned in dispatches. In fact, you can Google his name and the area where he recruited, which was in Sialkot, and it comes up now, which the British Army have already put all those Second World War records on. So I think I don't feel anything in particular, but I am conscious of the fact that I'm Indian, and I mean, I still go clubbing. You won't believe it, I'm 68. I still go clubbing every Friday evening with other men in their 60s. They're all white. I'm the only Asian. But that's, you know, because I started going clubbing in Swindon when I was 20, 40 years on, 45 years on. Hang on, I'm good at math. 46 years on, I'm still doing it. When I first came to Swindon, couldn't speak much English. I must have been about 13. There was the Race Equality Council set up in Farringdon Road. So the Race Equality officer came to me and said, look, there weren't very many Asian people, but they came to our school to get people to volunteer. They wanted to go to a place called Rawton and talk to some of the local people there about the Asian culture. And there, somebody asked me, what about these arranged marriages? So I'm 13 now. And they said, oh, you're going to have arranged marriage? Yes. And I said, yeah. And they couldn't understand why or how I would have arranged marriage. And they said, who would arrange it? My parents. But, ironically, I didn't have an arranged marriage. By the time I was going to get married, I chose somebody myself. A friend of mine used to go to college with me, his sister, so I'm Christian. She was Hindu. And we got married. My parents were all right, but her parents weren't very happy originally. But when they met me, they said, oh, he's better than our son. Because they used to just have a bit of a laugh with them all, you know. And so, yeah. But we did get divorced as well, though. So my daughters, the thing is, it's a bit of a story. My daughters were adopted, and they were born to a Sikh family, But the family had issues. So when Rebecca was born, the social services took Rebecca. That is not her real name. Or it wasn't the name given to her by her family. And so we were looking to adopt a child, and so we adopted her when she was a baby, and she must have been about 7 or 8 months. And we took her to Cheltenham. That's where we lived. And but she was brought up, because we lived in a very British white area. She was brought up as a British white person, really. And then after we'd had her for about a month or so, we said to them, look, we need to adopt somebody else to keep her company, another boy or a girl. And they said, you won't believe this, but she's actually has a blood sister just born recently. So that's Gabriella. So the social services took Gabriella from the mother and father as well again. So then we ended up having both of them. And then at the age of 11, Rebecca wanted to come and live with me. Gabriella stayed with her mum, so she's 1 year younger. And so then, by the age of 15 and 14, both of them started living with me. So I was bringing them up together myself, whereas my ex-wife was nearby. But I did most of the responsibility. And they both live with me even now, even though they're 23 and 24. We lived in an area which is very British white. They went to all the schools were British white. Hardly any children were there from the Asian background. So all their friends are British white. They don't speak. They like Bollywood films, and they dress up in Indian clothes at weddings and special events. But really, no, they're British, and they are reminded though of, they've been called the P word. They know that. And they say they don't get upset by it, or they obviously it's annoying, and they're quite proud to tell them. And we have told them they had Sikh parents. They have actually met their natural parents as well, but we grew up as Christians. Although my ex-wife is Hindu, we brought them as Christians, so that's hence their names are from the Bible, Rebecca and Gabriella. This is what I say to my daughters: life is for enjoying, so don't worry about working too much. Because by the time you've saved all that money, you'll get old. You don't want to do that. Enjoy it. Like I used to go clubbing 4 times a week. 68, I'm still doing it, because you're going to spend the rest of your life working, right? And nobody's going to come to your rescue later on when you get old. You might as well enjoy your life now and enjoy it all the way through. Enjoyment first, work later. Education, it's not the end of the world if you don't get a good qualification. I've got a master's degree in information systems and technology, but that doesn't define you. Although I've been teaching for 40 years, and it doesn't necessarily mean that if you haven't got a qualification, you're not going to have a good life. Enjoy first, then start thinking about getting a reasonably good job that can earn you a good enough money to have a life. And don't worry too much about buying a house. We spend too much worrying about buying a house, worrying about what families saying, what the neighbors are saying, what Indian relatives who are in Pakistan or India, wherever they are. Irrelevant. They don't come to your rescue when you're dying. They don't come to they can't save you. They're not going to be able to do anything for you. Live your life today. You are in charge of your life. Don't worry about anybody else. But be nice to them. Enjoy life. The freedom, I think. Oh yeah. So what I love about the British, the people, I think generally, I think they're very generous and very friendly, welcoming. They'll work with you if you work with them, and so I enjoy that. Obviously, the weather gets you, but I'm used to it now. So so it's no good moaning, saying, "Oh God, it's raining." But we know that. I've gone through it for 58 years now. I know. I came here when I was 10. I know winter's going to come after autumn, and and all these seasons are going to come. So let's just live it as it is. And the people are wonderful if you get to know them. British sense of humour is brilliant. They're sarcastic. Asian people don't like sarcasm, but you got to learn it. You got to once you learn that you can mix with them, have a good time with them. Your life is going to be enjoyable. I think it's a great project, Kahaani, because What it does is it tells the younger generations about what happened and how we paved the way for them to a certain extent. People did suffer racism, and people did, especially in Britain, did suffer racism, but they got through it. And I think with Kahaani, they can see how even though you've gone through difficult times, you can come through it, right? And that's the important thing. And I think you just need to, people say that you learn from your mistakes. Well, you're not going to live long enough to make all the mistakes yourself. So learn from other people's mistakes. And Kahaani is one of those projects that's going to help you with that.